China conducted another massive military drill. It's preparing to starve and bomb Taiwanese civilians into oblivion. But don't worry, China's doing this out of love. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell, and thank you all so much. You're incredible. Within just 1 week, you helped us raise more than $32,000 to build our new censorship-free China Uncensored website. I'm seriously in awe of how amazing China Uncensored viewers are. So thank you for your support. And because of it, we should be ready to launch this amazing new website in just a few weeks. We'll be giving you exclusive episodes, special live streams, and a members-only chat. And as promised, now that we've met our initial fundraising goal, we're ready to do even more for you. The next step will be a mobile app where you can have an even better ad-free platform to watch China Uncensored. And for anyone who contributes $15 or more before October 31st, you'll get your first month's premium subscription for free. And there are other rewards too. So head over to givesendgo.com/China Uncensored or click the link below and help us make China Uncensored even better. And now, on with the show. So the Chinese Communist Party is not exactly known for its subtlety, especially when it comes to Taiwan. In 2022, after then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited the island nation, they launched a set of military drills that encircled Taiwan. They did the same thing in 2023, after then President of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, met with then U.S. Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. And again in May of this year, after so-called dangerous separatist William Lai won the Taiwanese presidency. So I guess it should come as no surprise that now, just after Lai spoke out against Chinese control of Taiwan during his National Day speech, and after Tsai went on a tour of Europe, China released this military drill promo. And then, earlier this week, the People's Liberation Army Eastern Theater Command dispatched the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Rocket Force to conduct, you guessed it, military drills around Taiwan. Subtle. The only thing thinner than this veiled threat is the CCP's skin. The exercise is called Joint Sword 2024B. It's a continuation of May's Joint Sword 2024A, but with a much tighter purpose. Whereas in May, the PLA said that the goal of Joint Sword 2024A was to focus on joint sea-air combat readiness patrol, joint seizures of comprehensive battlefield control, and joint precision strikes on key targets. For Joint Sword 2024B, the goal is to focus on joint sea-air combat readiness patrol, the blockade and control of key ports and areas, strikes on sea and land targets, and the seizure of comprehensive battlefield control. In other words, China's practicing for a blockade. And that's what Taiwan gets for correctly announcing China doesn't control them. Yeah, China's not overreacting or being unhinged at all. China's been pretty open about their intentions. The exercise zones from the 2022 and 2023 drills, as well as Joint Sword 2024A and B, clearly show China surrounding Taiwan. During Joint Sword 2024B, Taiwan tracked 125 Chinese military aircraft and 34 ships surrounding it. The aircraft included H-6K bombers, which are capable of carrying 6 land attack cruise missiles each, or even nuclear warheads, and J-20 stealth fighters. Chinese state-run media claims this is the first time that the J-20 has publicly been shown in any action related to Taiwan. Meanwhile, out of China's 34 ships, 17 were naval military vessels, including China's first aircraft carrier, the Liaoning. It was deployed to Taiwan's east after operating east of the Philippines just prior. If only China put this much thought and strategy into fixing their economy and improving their citizens' lives. The other 17 were Chinese Coast Guard ships. Many, like this one, were seen by the Taiwanese Coast Guard within the median line dividing China and Taiwan. This isn't the first time China has used law enforcement vessels against Taiwan. They've even gone so far as to board a Taiwanese tour boat earlier this year and have Coast Guard vessels accompanying military vessels in Joint Sword 2024A. China claims that the Coast Guard ships that took part in Joint Sword 2024B conducted law enforcement patrols in waters surrounding Taiwan. And if you're thinking that's outside of their jurisdiction, remember, Chinese police think the whole world is their jurisdiction. And would you look at that, they formed a heart-shaped path. Nothing can be evil if it's heart-shaped. Yes, they're saying they're doing it out of love for the motherland. These are Cupid's tools of conquest they're using. This is one step away from dropping bombs in a smiley face pattern to say, see, we're just joshing around. In fact, China's love is so vast, it couldn't ignore Taiwanese people living outside of the main island, so Chinese Coast Guard ships also came near the Taiwanese islands of Dongying and Matsu. There they practice verification and identification, boarding inspections, and control and expulsion operations, which is a lot of fancy words for piracy. This is all part of China's gray zone warfare, basically actions that achieve the same goals of war, just without elevating things to actual boots on the ground, though it sure is edging closer to that. Aside from intimidating Taiwan, China's also trying to legitimize claims over Taiwanese territory by using law enforcement. It's also meant to help China prevent so-called Taiwanese independence separatists from fleeing and to stop individuals posing as civilians from secretly infiltrating the island by sea. It's all part of China's efforts to keep the US and its allies out and squeeze Taiwan into submission. If China ever actually set up a blockade, Taiwan would be in a world of hurt. As the Center for Strategic and International Studies points out, a majority of US and Taiwanese experts believe that China can sustain a high-intensity conflict for a long period of time. Meanwhile, Taiwan has less than 2 months of coal and natural gas reserves for electricity generation, 6 months of crude oil reserves, and 6 months of food stockpiles. In the most likely blockade scenarios, these stockpiles would be subject to Chinese bombardment, reducing Taiwan's ability to resist. The world can't afford to assume that this is all just Chinese saber-rattling. If you're thinking, would China actually do something so crazy? Yes! Have you not been paying attention? Click that bell for notifications. The entire channel is basically, here's something else China did that was crazy. China will not rule out the use of force to take Taiwan. And it's making good on its word with neck-breaking military buildup. Again, too bad they aren't as effective at building their economy back up. The US knows what China's planning, so it's been giving aid to Taiwan and training, shifting its own warfighting doctrine, and building up tools to fight a China war. These are good steps, but more needs to be done. It's like giving a bullied kid 3 karate lessons. While appreciated, considering the bully is way bigger, maybe some more help is needed before the All-Valley tournament. The US has put a lot of emphasis on building drones and anti-ship missiles. The more the merrier, but as friend of the show, former US Pacific Fleet Intelligence Director Captain Jim Fennell points out, the US also needs to build more naval ships. Just relying on drones and missiles without more ships isn't enough. But US ship production is seriously behind. And it's full of problems like faulty welds on 26 warships and a manpower shortage. While China continues to build up its Navy, the US Navy is actually shrinking. But at least it's not sinking. The US Navy projects that the total number of ships in the Navy will decline by 9 ships, from 296 ships to 287 by the end of 2025. The US Navy is projected to grow more than 300 ships by 2032, but that's assuming the US stays on track. Which is hard to believe, because if you've ever worked with contractors, you know builders can't even finish a bathroom on the timetable they promised. While the US struggles to build up its crippled shipyard industry, China is rapidly expanding its own shipbuilding capabilities, while already having a 200 times greater shipbuilding capacity than the US. As I've been saying for years on end, the US and its allies needs to get their act together and prepare for the worst case scenario in order to keep that from ever happening, especially since it could be very easy to turn these military drills into military invasions. And once again, thank you to all of you who are helping make the new censorship-free China Uncensored premium website a reality. And for everyone else, there's still time to be part of this and get some really cool rewards too. Click below to visit givesendgo.com/China Uncensored, pledge your support, and leave a comment for me to read about what you hope to see on the new website. And before YouTube's algorithm sends you off to some random video, in my ongoing attempt to hide controversial topics in gaming content, one of the ways Marxists try to destroy a society is by destroying their culture heroes. The slandering of Columbus is a perfect example, which I talk about in this video on Diablo 4. Click here and let me know what you think. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.